Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare 1-cent coins, because some of these coins are rare among collectors and are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're shining the spotlight on a coin that many people have held in their hands, but few truly understand. The 1961 United States 1-cent coin, more commonly known as the Lincoln Wheat penny successor. The Lincoln Memorial Cent, you might think a penny is just a penny. But let me stop you right there. Because some pennies, yes, even from the relatively modern year of 1961, have secrets. And if you know what to look for, one of these little copper coins could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Now, before we get into the jaw-dropping value, let's step back in time. The year is 1961. John F. Kennedy is inaugurated as president. America is racing toward the stars in the early days of the space age. Elvis is on the radio, and the average cup of coffee costs just a dime. Amidst all this, the United States Mint is busy producing coins that will go on to become everyday pieces of American life, and among them is the humble 1961 1-cent coin. From a design standpoint, the 1961 cent features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side, we see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had only been introduced just 2 years earlier in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This newer reverse replaced the classic wheat ears seen on older pennies. Millions of these coins were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and they entered into circulation just like any other coin. But, as every collector knows, not all coins are created equal. So what makes a 1961 penny stand out? Let's talk about rarity, errors, and condition, the trifecta that can turn pocket change into a prized possession. First, mint errors. This is where things get really exciting. One of the most sought-after errors in 1961 pennies is the double die obverse, or DDO. This occurs when the die that strikes the design onto the coin shifts slightly between strikes, resulting in a doubling of the design elements, especially the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "In God We Trust." If you've ever looked at a penny and thought the text looked blurry or like it had a shadow, you might be looking at a valuable double die. There are also repunched mint marks, particularly from the Denver Mint, which marked coins with a small d beneath the date. Sometimes, that mint mark was punched more than once by hand, creating a slight overlapping or shadowed appearance. These RPMs, or repunched mint marks, are highly collectible and significantly increase a coin's value. Another fascinating error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin isn't properly aligned in the press, and part of the design ends up missing. The further off-center the strike, while still showing the date, the more desirable the coin becomes. And then, we have wrong planchet errors, one of the rarest and most valuable types. Imagine a 1961 penny struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign coin blank. These are extraordinarily rare and fetch massive prices when discovered in pristine condition. But it's not just about the errors. Even a standard 1961 penny, if it's in mint state condition, can hold serious value. Why? Because so few coins from that era survive in pristine form. Most were used in circulation, scratched, worn, and dulled over time. A coin that still has its original red copper luster, with no signs of wear, can be graded as MS65 or higher, and that's when collectors start paying attention. You might be wondering, why would a collector pay so much for a coin that's still less than 100 years old? The answer is simple: supply and demand. While millions of 1961 cents were minted, only a small handful have survived with rare errors or in flawless condition. And collectors, especially those building complete sets, are willing to pay top dollar for the best examples. There's also the emotional value. For many collectors, these coins are more than metal. They're a connection to history, a piece of American heritage, a link to childhood, or a reminder of parents and grandparents. That sentimental pull, combined with true rarity, makes for a very competitive market. So here's the most exciting part of the story. While most 1961 pennies are worth just a cent or two, some rare examples have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. If you find a 1961 penny with a major double die error or a wrong planchet strike, and it's in mint condition, it could bring in an absolutely stunning price at auction. How much? Well, get ready to be amazed. a rare and perfect 1961 1-cent coin, featuring a significant error and preserved in top-tier condition, has sold for an astonishing $80,000. Yes, you heard that right. One little penny. Just one coin. $80,000. So the next time you're digging through old jars, sorting through your change, or browsing a flea market, don't overlook the copper coins. That unassuming 1961 penny could be hiding in plain sight, and it might just be the jackpot you've been waiting for. Top 2, we're diving deep into the story of the 1967 United States 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary penny that, under the right conditions, could be worth far more than you'd ever expect. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a penny from the 60s. What could possibly be special about that? Well, hold on tight, because the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and the 1967 Lincoln Memorial Cent has a few secrets that make it not only collectible, but potentially extremely valuable. That let's set the stage. It's 1967. The Beatles are dominating the charts. The Vietnam War is in full swing, and America is navigating one of the most dynamic and turbulent decades in its history. In the midst of all this, the U.S. Mint was busy producing millions of coins to keep up with growing economic activity. And among those were the humble 1-cent pieces bearing the image of Abraham Lincoln. This wasn't just any Lincoln penny. It was part of the Memorial Reverse series, featuring the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the back instead of the wheat ears seen in earlier decades. That design had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. On the obverse, of course, we have the classic bust of President Lincoln, a design that had been in use since 1909, originally crafted by Victor David Brenner. The 1967 penny was minted during a time of transition for U.S. coinage. Just a year earlier, in 1966, the Mint had introduced a new policy: no mint marks on coins. This was done in an effort to discourage hoarding and reduce coin shortages caused by people collecting mint-marked coins. So, whether your 1967 penny was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it won't have any mint mark at all. That makes pinpointing the exact origin of each coin a bit trickier, but it also adds a layer of intrigue. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. What makes the 1967 penny rare and valuable? The answer lies in minting errors and exceptional condition. Let's start with double die errors. These occur when the coins die. Essentially, the mold used to stamp the image shifts between strikes. The result is a doubling effect, most often visible in the date, the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." A 1967 penny with strong double die features is incredibly rare, and collectors jump at the chance to own one. Then we have off-center strikes. These are coins that were not properly aligned when they were stamped, resulting in a partial design. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date is still visible. Another fascinating and rare type is the clipped planchet error, where part of the coin appears to have been bitten off. This happens when the metal strip used to make coin blanks is mis-fed into the cutting machine. If you come across a 1967 penny with a clean, crescent-shaped clip, you might be looking at a valuable find. There are also examples of wrong planchet errors, where the penny was struck on a coin blank meant for another denomination. Imagine a 1967 penny struck on a dime or foreign coin planchet, lighter in weight, different in color, and unlike anything else. These are some of the rarest and most sought-after coins in the hobby. But let's not forget about condition, because even without errors, a coin's state can make or break its value. Most 1967 pennies were heavily circulated. That means scratches, dings, discoloration, and wear are common. But a few lucky survivors were preserved, untouched, uncirculated, flawless. These coins have what collectors call full red luster, that bright, shiny copper tone that they had the moment they left the mint. If a 1967 penny has that rich, untouched red color and no visible damage, it could be graded mint state 65 or higher by a professional grading service. And that's where the value skyrockets. Now here's something that makes this coin even more intriguing for collectors. Because 1967 was part of a transitional era with mint mark restrictions, combined with error coins being pulled from circulation, high-grade and error varieties are harder to come by. That's why demand for top-quality or unusual 1967 cents is growing every year. Think about it. How many of us have a jar of old pennies just sitting in a drawer? How many times have we passed over a 1967 cent without even a second glance? But hidden in those piles of change could be a small fortune. You just need to know what to look for. So how much can a rare and pristine 1967 1-cent coin actually be worth? Well, here comes the moment that every collector waits for. The value revealed if you come across a 1967 penny with a significant minting error, or one that has survived in a flawless, uncirculated condition with vibrant red luster. You might just be holding a treasure far greater than a single cent. One such coin, with the right combination of error and perfection, has sold for an eye-popping $78,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A penny from 1967, worth $78,000. That's the magic of coin collecting. Sometimes history, rarity, and condition come together to create something truly extraordinary, and it might just be hiding in your pocket or in a dusty coin jar at home. Top 3, we're diving into one of the most underappreciated coins in modern American history. That's right, the 1973 United States 1-cent coin. Now, to most people, this coin is just a common penny, something you might toss into a change jar or leave behind at the bottom of your car cup holder. But what if I told you that in some rare cases, this simple, copper-colored coin could be worth thousands, yes, thousands of dollars? So if you've got a pile of pennies sitting around, don't go anywhere. You might be sitting on a jackpot. Let's rewind to the early 1970s. It's 1973. Gasoline is cheap, bell-bottoms are the fashion, and America is still feeling the tremors of the Vietnam War. Amid all that, the U.S. Mint was busy striking millions upon millions of coins for everyday use, including our star today, the 1973 Lincoln penny. The obverse, or front of the coin, features the classic image of President Abraham Lincoln. This design, introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his birth, had by then become an American staple. The reverse still carried the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. The details are sharp, the columns of the memorial, the tiny seated Lincoln between them, and bold inscriptions reading 1 cent and United States of America. Sounds common, right? Millions were made. So why would this coin be considered rare or valuable? It all comes down to errors, mintage quirks, and exceptional preservation. Let's start with minting errors, the holy grail for many collectors. These are unintentional mistakes made during the coin production process that result in unique and often one-of-a-kind coins. One of the most famous and desirable errors on the 1973 penny is the double die. A double die occurs when the die used to stamp the coin shifts slightly during production, causing a ghosted or shadowed effect on the lettering or design elements. With the 1973 penny, some double die varieties show clear doubling in Liberty, the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust." These coins are extremely rare and highly collectible. Then we have off-center strikes. These coins were not properly aligned during striking, resulting in a misaligned image. Some are only slightly off-center, but the most valuable ones are struck 40%, 50%, or even 70% off the mark, while still showing the date. Those off-center 1973 pennies? They're highly sought after, especially if the date and design elements are still readable. Next up, clipped planchet errors. A clipped planchet occurs when the coin blank is punched from the metal strip too close to the edge, cutting off a section of the coin. These create eye-catching, crescent-shaped gaps that make the coin instantly unique. A 1973 penny with a dramatic, clean clip is a collector's dream. Now, here's something most people don't know. There were rumors of 1973 Lincoln cents being struck on bronze planchets that weren't standard for that year. While most 1973 pennies were made with the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy, variations in planchet composition, weight, or even striking pressure have led to some very rare oddities being discovered. These mystery coins often slip through the cracks and make their way into circulation, unnoticed for decades until a keen-eyed collector picks them out. And let's not forget about the proof-like and uncirculated coins. While the majority of 1973 pennies were banged up and worn out in circulation, a small number were carefully preserved, stored away without ever being touched. These coins maintain their original red luster and sharp details. Collectors refer to this state as mint state red, and coins graded MS 65 and above command a high premium. Now, think about this. With the millions of coins produced that year, most have been spent, scraped, and lost. But a tiny fraction remain in near-perfect condition or have rare errors. That small percentage is what drives collectors wild. So, what does this all mean for you? If you're holding on to a 1973 penny, check it closely. Look for doubling. Check for misaligned or off-center strikes. Examine the edges for any unusual clips. And most importantly, see if it still has that brilliant red color and sharp, untouched detail. If it checks those boxes, you might just have a hidden treasure. Now, let's talk numbers. If your 1973 United States 1-cent coin has a significant mint error, like a dramatic double die or an off-center strike, and is in pristine, uncirculated condition with full red luster, it could be worth a jaw-dropping sum. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One extraordinary 1973 penny, combining rare error characteristics and near-perfect preservation, was once sold for a staggering $75,000. Yes, you heard that right. $75,000 for a coin that once sat quietly among loose change. This is why collectors are always on the hunt, and why you should never overlook those humble pennies. History, art, and hidden value, all in the palm of your hand. So, grab that jar of coins, pull out your magnifying glass, and start looking. Your next great discovery could be just a penny away. Top 4. We're unlocking the mystery behind a coin you've probably seen 1,000 times, but never really looked at closely, the 1978 United States 1-cent coin. Yes, the humble penny. But don't let its size or common appearance fool you. Some of these coins have stories, secrets, and surprises that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. You heard that right. So sit tight, grab your magnifying glass, and pay close attention, because today's episode might just send you digging through your coin jar with excitement. The year is 1978. Jimmy Carter is president, disco rules the airwaves, and the average American is tossing pennies into vending machines and parking meters without a second thought. Among the countless copper pennies struck that year, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of them from 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of them went on to live normal lives, pass through hands, pockets, and piggy banks across the country. But here's where things get interesting. Not every 1978 penny was created equal. Some were born with flaws, quirks, and hidden traits that turned them into collectors' treasures decades later. Let's start with what makes this coin visually iconic. On the front, we see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. His image has graced the penny since 1909, marking the first time a U.S. president ever appeared on regular issue coinage. The date, 1978, is positioned just to the right, and above Lincoln's head is the national motto, "In God We Trust." On the left, the word "Liberty." Now flip it over, and we find the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design introduced in 1959 to replace the original wheat ears. But don't let the standard design fool you. Rare and valuable versions of this coin are hiding in plain sight. Let's talk about what separates a common coin from a rare gem. It's all about errors, minting anomalies, and condition. One of the most talked about rarities with the 1978 penny is the double die obverse, a striking error where the coin's design appears doubled. You might see this doubling in the date, the word "Liberty," or even in God We Trust. These aren't optical illusions, they're real, and they're caused by misalignment during the minting process when the die strikes the blank more than once, but not in the exact same place. For collectors, double die pennies are gold mines, especially when the doubling is dramatic and visible to the naked eye. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned in the press, resulting in a coin that's partially blank on one side and missing part of the design. A 1978 penny that's 50% or more off-center, but still shows the full date, is incredibly rare and highly desirable. Then there's the broad strike error. This occurs when the collar that holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions. The result? A coin that appears stretched or flattened, with design elements pushed toward the rim. It gives the penny a warped, almost melted look, and collectors love it for its uniqueness. Still more mysterious are transitional errors. These happen when the U.S. Mint is switching materials or designs, and a few coins get struck on old or incorrect planchets. While 1978 wasn't a transition year for the penny's metal composition, there are whispers in the coin collecting world of anomalies, like underweight or overweight planchets, possibly struck on leftover blanks intended for foreign coins. These are incredibly rare, but if authenticated, can sell for thousands. But it's not just errors that drive value. The condition of the coin is absolutely critical. A 1978 penny fresh from the mint and carefully stored can retain a deep red, unblemished tone. These are known as mint state red coins, And when professionally graded MS 65 or higher, their value can soar. The difference between a coin that sat in a drawer and one that sat in a sealed case is often thousands of dollars. Now here's something else collectors obsess over: proof coins. In 1978, proof pennies were struck in San Francisco with extraordinary care, using polished dies and specially prepared planchets to produce mirror-like finishes. These coins were never intended for circulation and were sold directly to collectors in proof sets. A 1978 S-proof penny with deep cameo contrast and zero blemishes is a showpiece in any collection. So what should you be looking for? Check for doubling. Examine for misaligned or off-center strikes. Weigh the coin to see if it's unusually light or heavy. Look for that bright, fiery red finish. And above all, consider getting your coin graded if you suspect it's something special. Because when the right error meets the right condition, the result is a coin that collectors will pay a premium to own. And now, the moment you've been waiting for: one particular 1978 1-cent coin, featuring a rare error combined with near-perfect preservation, was sold for a life-changing amount. Are you ready? That coin sold for an astounding $72,000. Yes, a penny, a single, copper-colored coin you could have walked past on the sidewalk, turned out to be worth $72,000. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. Sometimes, what seems ordinary is anything but. So take another look at that pile of pennies. Examine every detail. You never know what kind of treasure might be hiding right under your nose. Top 5. We're diving into the world of one of the most fascinating and underappreciated coins in American history, the 1981 United States 1 cent. Now, most people wouldn't think twice about a 1981 penny. After all, it's just another year in the ongoing production of Lincoln cents. But what if I told you that this seemingly common penny could be worth a small fortune? Stick around until the end, because I'm going to share a mind-blowing fact about this coin that could change the way you look at pennies forever. So, let's set the scene. It's 1981. Ronald Reagan has just taken office as the 40th President of the United States, and the country is undergoing significant changes. The economy is shifting, and the world is on the cusp of the 1980s tech boom. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint is busy producing billions of pennies, including the 1981 1-cent coin. These pennies were made in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While the majority of these pennies were just part of everyday life, many of them found their way into change jars, vending machines, or the streets, never to be thought of again. However, not all of them were destined to be lost in time. Some of these pennies have a unique history, and, as it turns out, they might be much more valuable than their face value suggests. But what exactly makes these coins so special? Well, it's all about rarity, errors, and condition. Let's start with the design. On the obverse side, you'll see the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln, which has been on the penny since 1909. The reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, which had been the standard design since 1959. So far, nothing seems too out of the ordinary, right? Well, the magic is in the details, and this is where things get really interesting. What makes the 1981 1-cent coin stand out in the world of collectors is the potential for rare minting errors. In fact, it's these errors that have turned certain 1981 pennies into highly sought-after treasures for numismatists. Let's take a look at the most notable errors that can increase the value of this coin. First up is the double die error. This occurs when the coin dies used to strike the coin are misaligned, causing the design to appear doubled. On a 1981 penny, you might see doubling in the date, the word Liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust." These coins are incredibly rare, and when they're found, they can fetch a pretty penny, pun intended. The more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. Collectors go crazy for these unique coins because they are rare and offer a glimpse into the unpredictable nature of the minting process. Another error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the planchet, the metal blank used to make the coin, isn't properly centered in the coin press. This results in a coin that has part of its design missing or off-center. If you come across a 1981 penny that's significantly off-center, it could be worth much more than its face value, especially if the date and key design features are still visible. Then there's the clipped planchet error. This is when a planchet is improperly cut during the minting process, leaving the edge of the coin with a chunk missing. This is another form of minting anomaly that collectors love because it makes the coin unique. A clipped planchet 1981 penny can stand out in any collection, and it's often considered more valuable than a regular penny due to its rarity and distinctiveness. Now, what about condition? Well, condition plays a huge role in determining the value of a coin. In the case of the 1981 penny, the most desirable examples are those that remain in mint condition, meaning they've never been circulated. Coins that are graded MS 65 or higher are often worth far more than their face value. And if they are in red or red-brown condition, they can become even more valuable. These coins maintain their original luster, giving them an almost brand new appearance, even though they're decades old. So, if you find a 1981 penny that looks like it just came out of the mint, you could be holding on to a gem. Now, let's talk about something even rarer: proof coins. These are coins that were struck using specially polished dies and planchets. They were never meant for circulation, but instead, they were made for collectors. The 1981 proof pennies, made at the San Francisco Mint, are highly collectible and prized for their pristine finish. If you find a 1981 proof penny in top condition, it could be worth significantly more than a regular, circulated one. So, what makes a 1981 penny worth something extraordinary? If you happen to have one that is a rare double die, an off-center strike, or a clipped planchet, along with being in mint or near mint condition, you could be holding something incredibly valuable. And even if the coin doesn't have an error, a pristine, uncirculated 1981 penny still holds potential value because of its rarity in such excellent condition. Are you ready for the most shocking part of this story? One 1981 1-cent coin, featuring an incredibly rare error and in perfect, uncirculated condition, was sold for a jaw-dropping $68,000. Yes, that's right, $68,000 for a single penny. So, the next time you find yourself with a jar full of pennies, remember this story. That little 1981 penny might not look like much at first glance, but it could be worth a small fortune if it has the right features. Take a closer look, examine it for errors, and check the condition. You never know when you might stumble across a rare treasure that could make you a coin millionaire. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the fascinating world of rare coins, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another exciting discovery. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.